Welcome to the channel. Today, we're unpacking a book that takes a seemingly simple premise. A middle-aged American writer goes to Rome to recharge and turns it into a hysterically funny, yet profoundly insightful meditation on art, aging, anxiety, and the crushing weight of expectation. We are diving into Dave Eggers' Contrappasto. Now, if you're a Dave Eggers fan, you know he's a master of blending high concept with personal absurdity. In Contrappasto, he introduces us to Joshua, a fictionalized version of himself, a writer famous for one big success, who is now wrestling with writer's block, a persistent twitch in his eye, and the nagging feeling that he's a fraud. His mission, to spend a month in Italy to reconnect with beauty, escape the digital clutter of modern life, and finally find the inspiration to write his next great novel, his reality, an escalating series of mishaps, misunderstandings, and existential meltdowns, all set against the backdrop of Europe's most magnificent art. The title, Contrappasto, refers to that classical sculptural pose where the human figure balances most of its weight on one leg, causing the shoulders and hips to rotate in opposite directions. It's a pose of balanced tension, a perfect metaphor for Joshua's internal state, caught between the sublime ideals of art and the ridiculous realities of his own decaying body and digital age neuroses. This script will guide you through Joshua's disastrous attempt at cultural immersion, dissect the book's critique of the modern tourist and the art industry, and explore its core themes of finding meaning, escaping the internet, and the enduring power of human connection. But first, if you've ever felt overwhelmed by a great museum or realized your vacation was just your neuroses in a different country, please smash that like button right now. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's the most pretentious thing you've ever done on a European vacation? And as always, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our weekly deep dives into the best of contemporary literature. Eggers establishes Joshua as a figure of relatable, middle-aged anxiety. He's not a hero. He's an American writer struggling under the burden of past success and present inertia. His trip to Italy is less a creative journey and more an act of desperation. He seeks the cure for his creative block in the ancient stones of Rome, hoping that beauty will somehow restore his soul and silence his inner critic. Joshua arrives in Italy loaded with good intentions. To disconnect from his phone, immerse himself in Renaissance art, perfect his contrappasto posture, and emerge a better, more profound writer. The book's immediate source of humor comes from the clash between Joshua's high-minded ideals and his mundane, crippling neuroses. He attempts a rigorous digital detox, only to discover that the modern world, and his own addiction, is inescapable. Every ancient site is cluttered with other tourists, all glued to their screens, taking the same photos. His efforts to achieve mindfulness are constantly derailed by low-level, self-inflicted stress, worrying about his flight home, struggling with Italian bureaucratic forms, or obsessing over his persistent eye twitch. Eggers uses this dynamic to offer a sharp critique of the contemporary pilgrimage to Europe. We travel across the globe searching for authenticity, only to bring our most inauthentic, digital selves with us. Joshua's failure to disconnect isn't just a funny plot point. It's a profound commentary on the modern mind's inability to simply be present. The primary setting for Joshua's internal turmoil is the vast, overwhelming beauty of Italian Renaissance and Baroque art. He is surrounded by masterpieces, Michelangelo, Bernini, Caravaggio, but instead of finding transcendence, he finds pressure. The art is too good, too profound, and too numerous. Eggers perfectly captures the anxiety of the modern tourist in a major museum. Joshua feels a desperate obligation to get the art, to feel the deep spiritual connection he's supposed to feel when he doesn't. He immediately descends into self-loathing, convinced this failure proves he is a shallow person and a failure as an artist. This creates the book's central comic mechanism, the distance between the sublime, perfect art, the contrappasto of David, and the chaotic, imperfect man staring at it. Joshua perpetually leaning the wrong way. The novel takes aim at the entire ecosystem of cultural tourism. Joshua's experiences are filled with the authenticity trap, his futile attempts to find real Rome, away from the tourists, only to realize he is the tourist, and that authenticity is a commodity often manufactured for consumption. The guide problem, his encounters with overly enthusiastic, fact-spouting tour guides who overwhelm the art with too much information, creating a barrier between the viewer and the object. The selfie stick horde, the constant visual noise created by people prioritizing the documentation of the experience over the experience itself. Through Joshua's increasingly desperate attempts to have a meaningful experience, such as seeking out obscure, minor works of art to feel superior, Eggers skewers the competitive, performative nature of modern cultural appreciation. As Joshua's personal anxieties mount, the plot takes an unexpected and darkly humorous turn into a conspiracy theory. Battling the eye twitch and his crippling insecurity, he begins to suspect that his fellow writer-in-residence and even the academic staff overseeing his stay might be part of a bizarre plot involving corporate sponsorship, artistic fakery, and the commodification of creativity. This shift from existential angst to outright paranoia is classic Eggers. The alleged conspiracy is a brilliant externalization of Joshua's internal crisis. He believes the whole world is a fraud because he feels like a fraud himself. He searches for a villain to blame for his writer's block, rather than admitting the failure is internal. Driven by his paranoia, Joshua engages in increasingly erratic behavior, eventually leading to a genuinely funny, high-stakes confrontation. He attempts a dramatic escape from the writer's retreat, convinced he is being tracked. He essentially becomes an accidental fugitive across Italy. This section is where the physical comedy meets the intellectual satire. Joshua's survival skills are non-existent, and his attempts to go dark are utterly defeated by his persistent need to check his email or Google the nearest ancient ruins. The high drama of the escape is constantly undercut by his petty, modern concerns. This comedic contrast underscores the novel's core message: you can't run from yourself. The title, Contrappasto, serves as the ultimate thematic key. The classic pose, with its balanced distribution of weight, where one hip is higher, opposite the lower shoulder, represents the ideal of stability and potential action. Joshua's life, however, is lived entirely out of contrappasto. He is perpetually unbalanced. Too much weight on ambition, too little on family. Too much focus on his digital life, too little on the real one. The book suggests that true artistic and personal fulfillment doesn't come from finding perfection, like the classical statue, but from accepting the balanced tension of an imperfect, messy life. The twitch in his eye, the mediocre draft of his novel, the failed attempt at Italian immersion. These are the components of his own contrappasto, his own unique, if absurd, human posture. The novel's resolution, as much as a book about anxiety can have one, is not found in a magnificent artistic epiphany or the defeat of a conspiracy, but in the mundane, imperfect moments of human connection. After his dramatic flight, Joshua is slowly forced back into the real world. He finds relief not in the hallowed halls of the Vatican, but in a simple, unpretentious conversation with a local, or a momentary, genuine laugh over a bowl of pasta. He realizes that the meaning he sought in the monumental art was actually waiting for him in the small, accessible acts of human authenticity. The lesson is subtle but clear. To find meaning in art, you must first find stillness in yourself. Eggers concludes by affirming that the greatest challenge of the 21st century is not writing the great American novel, but simply learning to be present, to look at a beautiful object without immediately reaching for a screen to document it, or an expert to explain it. Dave Eggers' Contrappasto is a magnificent piece of comic satire and existential literature. It's a book that beautifully skewers the excesses of cultural consumption while offering a surprisingly warm meditation on the power of art to both inspire and intimidate. It is a necessary read for anyone trying to navigate the messy reality of modern, digitally saturated life. It reminds us that the quest for beauty is often defeated by the noise we carry within us, but that the balance we seek is already available if we would only stop trying so hard to achieve perfection. If this summary of Joshua's disastrous yet redemptive journey resonated with you, please hit that like button right now. Comment below and share the most valuable thing you took away from Joshua's search for Contrappasto. And for more comprehensive analyses of the latest novels that explore the absurdities of contemporary life, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next analysis.